Hello everybody, my name is Phoenix Fire and welcome back to another Pokemon Damask episode. In the last one, we took on the Queen of Hearts herself in a gym battle, and now we're on the way to the next city, so let's get started. Alright then, yes, so after making our way down Route 7, I got our first encounter, which is a Grandorant. After encountering some cool Pokemon, I then realised that I didn't do my first encounter for the area, so and it turns out to be a Grandorant. So I eventually captured Cool Clover. So after fighting some more trainers, Poppy starts to evolve, and Flux also starts evolving too, into a Gloomazine. And not long after, we find our way into a new town. So after having a look around, receiving a new peep, we run into our old friend Copper, who of course wants to have another battle with us, so we greatly oblige. And the first Pokemon he sends out is Winklet, who must I say is kinda adorable. And I send out Pyro, and my first move is to use Flame Wheel, which takes out most of his health, but then he uses Spark, which doesn't really do that much, but Pyro luckily heals up with his leftovers, and this time I go for a Slam. Yep, which takes out his first peep. The second peep he sends out is a Dirtarier, which I'm going to imagine is a ground type, so I've got to be somewhat careful with Pyro. But of course, first move I use this time is Work Up, just in case, which raises both attack and special attack. And the Dirtarier uses Takedown, which does quite a bit of damage to Pyro, but Pyro hangs in there and recovers a bit more with the leftovers. So this time I decided to go for Flame Wheel, and thanks to the Work Up we managed to knock out the Dirtarier in another hit, and it was a crit as well. And his next Pokemon is Finlock. The middle form of his starter. Now of course we do have to very much be careful here because Finlock is a water type at least. I decided to go for a Slam because Flame Wheel won't be very good. But first of all, he hits Pyro with a Psybeam, which does hardly anything. Let's see if Slam connects. Oof! And it does most of Finlock's health. Pyro recovers thanks to his leftovers again. And then we go for another Slam. And instead of a water move, it goes for a Psy Wave this time, which leaves Pyro in the red, and leaving us free to do another Slam. And that knocks out the Finlock. Man, that could have been really bad if he decided to use a water move, but nope. This time I decided to switch because Pyro's on such low health, and I decided to send in Poppy, as his last Pokemon is a Super Vein. I have Poppy go for a wing attack just to see how much that does. That does hardly anything, so the Super Vein goes for a Pursuit. So of course I try Peck just to whittle it down a bit. I go for another Peck. It uses insurance on me to take Poppy down into the yellow, so of course I'm gonna go for another Peck to see how much it does. The Super Vein uses Pluck, taking Poppy down into the red. So yeah, this time I'm gonna swap into our also trustworthy Azure. And just as I do that, the Super Vein uses Assurance, which does hardly anything to Azure. So I decide to go for an Aerial Ace. We send it down into the red, it uses another Assurance. So then one more Aerial Ace takes it down, and that's Copper beaten. Sorry buddy. So after he heals our Pokemon and wanders off, we make our way down to Route 8, to which we can find our next encounter. So after I pick up these berries, we come across a Crabot, which I'm going to guess is a steel type. And after eventually catching in a grade ball because colour identity, we see that indeed it is a steel type, so that'll be a great identity to our party. And I name him Rusty. So now, after remembering we have the surfboard, and we can make our way to our next destination. After trying to find our first surfing encounter, after a little while we run into a bobweed, which is really adorable, who Pyro accidentally crits and knocks out in one shot. So now in a different area, below the one, we run into a shoalie, who we immediately catch in a net. Who says that we have to go to make sense because the fish, as expected, we see the shoalie because we've set a base down there. Well, I probably named where we go now. And of course, now that we're in Route 10, if we run into any wild Pokemon, then we are free to catch them anytime now. So after running into some more really cool designed Pokemon, we find our way into the next area, headquarters, where Roki tells us he's going to sneak into those guys, and he wants us to help him do it. So, and of course, Talon Shores. So after running around talking to people and looking in the buildings, we did not find any. All the way to swap our team around a bit, because as you can see now, we have Rusty in there. After getting this amulet coin from an old man, we can hope for the next one, which is a Squirest, who we eventually catch in a netball, who is a ghost type with a really sad story, but nevertheless I call him Geist. Right then, after that encounter, yep, we go to the Team Clown base. So after fighting a load of grunts, and we come across all the leaders, and they of course want to have a battle with us, so we're fighting against Dolly. And our first Pokemon is Sissan, so we send out Pyro. Now Pyro straight away will go for a slam attack just in case Flame Wheel doesn't do that much, and we manage to hit it and take it just above half health, and she goes for a Psybeam, which doesn't really do that much to Pyro, but he heals thanks to his leftovers. So now we go for another slam to take her down into the red, and she uses another Psybeam, which of course won't do that much to Pyro, so we go for one more slam, we run into a rival Loki, her Sissan, and the second Pokemon is the ever so tonky Maid Knight. So we'll go for another slam attack because I'm realising now that her Pyro's out of her flame wheels, or flame charges rather, and that does kind of okay damage, but she puts us to sleep, but luckily they were able to heal because of leftovers, so of course she goes for rests to heal up her health, but now we're in a bit of a stalemate here because we're both asleep, and I feel like this is going to go on for a while. So after long back and forth, she uses Snore, which of course doesn't really do that much to Pyro, but Pyro manages to heal because of his lefties. Pyro eventually wakes up and manages to land a hit on the Maid Knight, but it doesn't do that much. So the Maid Knight wakes up, tries to use an attack, but it fails. And then this time I decide to go for a workup because she hasn't really got anything that can hit Pyro that hard, just to raise my attack and defense. And she goes for rest again to heal up herself. So of course while she's resting, I'm going to take this opportunity to use workup again, just before she uses Snore. But yeah, that was a critical hit, but it still didn't really do that much damage. And of course Pyro could just heal up because of leftovers. So I go for a slam, which really hits her hard, but it's still in the green just about. And the Maid Knight go for a Snore, doesn't really do that much. So I go for another slam, it misses. And the Maid Knight goes for another attack, but it fails. So we just heal up Pyro with leftovers again. Now at this point I was thinking, should I swap to use more varied attacks? But at the same time I'm thinking that Pyro could just take hits, so I'm going to keep him in. And of course she's a sleep powder on Pyro again. So now I'm thinking that the Maid Knight's going to go for another. So the Maid Knight uses Return on Pyro, which still didn't really do that much, so yep, keeping Pyro with is a good idea. He used another Return on me, chipping me down, but that was a critical hit and it didn't really do that much. So we're still fine. Pyro wakes up, uses Slam, and thanks to the two workups we had earlier, it finally takes the Maid Knight down. And the next Pokemon is a Primadam, which is a really adorable evolution of the Umbrella that we keep on seeing. And of course, seeing that we only have 4 slams left, and we go for another one, but not after he uses Defog. to lower Pyro's evasiveness, but we managed to get the slam in. Oof. And we nearly one-shot it thanks to those workups that we got in earlier. So now the Prima Dama uses another defog to lower my evasiveness even more. So I go for a smoke screen just to see if we could buy another round to lower her accuracy. He uses another defog to lower my evasiveness even more. I'm not sure why the plan for our last Pokemon is to use defog 3 times in a row, but that doesn't work because we managed to use Slam and to knock out our third Pokemon. And of course after we beat her, Pyro starts to evolve, and I'm really curious what I'll turn into. And this amazing peak is a Regal End. Regal End. Now after she does some crying, her boss comes in and it turns out to be the Joker, of all people. Because you know, of course it is. And he tells us about a legendary Pokemon called Damask that he wants to set free and take over the world. But after those go, Loki tells us it'll be fine and that we should get the next gym badge. So yeah, that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to leave this episode here, guys and girls. If you enjoyed it, please be sure to leave a like, comment, and if you're new, you can subscribe, that'd be amazing. And yeah, don't forget to check out my Patreon. Until next time, have a good one, and I love you. Bye bye! And hopefully the DLC for FNAF Security Breach will be out soon. Keep an eye out for that video too.